that was our signal. Call everyone to order. We're going to start out with student recognitions tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, two ECHO student news reporters received awards in November 2019 at the National Scholastic Press Association and Journalism Education Association's National Convention in Washington, D.C. Senior Lauren Ulrich competed in the feature writing category and earned an excellent award for her story featuring a young entrepreneur who opened a chain of successful donut shops. Junior Genevieve Huber competed in the editorial writing category and earned a Superior Award for her editorial about the national student debt crisis. Each of them were provided material through either presentation or written material and had 90 minutes to compose a story adhering to the guidelines of their category. 2,126 high school journalists competed in on-site competitions, and over 6,000 students attended the convention, with 48 states being represented, as well as London and China. The Superior Award was reserved for less than 7% of the contestants. The Excellent Award represents only 12% of the contestants. So if those two young ladies will come up.
Come on down the aisle.
Yeah.
Come on down,
Oh yeah, come on down and get your pictures.
One more picture. Turn around there, he's still. Okay.
I'm still on cloud nine. This was way back in November, and we were slated to come in December and had some scheduling conflicts. So I'm still on cloud nine. We have so much to be proud of. They represented us so well. I don't know. I kept using the term kid. Like, shit. And my mom, have you ever said that? And they came in prepared, they had studied, they asked questions, they read examples, they just really stayed up all night working with me. And so, like it said in the intro, there were over 6,000 people or students at this competition or at this convention, and they just stood out like shining stars. This is a really big deal. I am so excited. I'm for you to hear a little bit from them.
Hello.
Hello.
So, yeah, this was a really amazing experience. I think Gigi and I were both really happy to be recognized with awards, but I think there was so much more that important that we learned beyond just going to the competitions. One of the most inspiring things, I think, is we both met a lot of other young journalists from across the country, and that was really invigorating for us to see other people reflect their passion. And we also had the opportunity to actually watch some of the schools in the house and meet with our representative. And it was in Washington, D.C., which felt very impactful and important. We felt like we were journalists walking around with our phones, like yeah, so it was really fun too. And I think we're both really excited to bring everything we learned there back to
Great.
Great. Awesome.
So how my competition worked, I listened to a speaker for about 30 minutes, and then we had an hour to write an article about it. And everyone else around me had downloaded these apps on their phones that transcribed everything the person was saying, and my phone was red.
Oh, shoot.
So I just wrote I just like went scribbling like
did great.
I mean, like Lauren said, I think it's a very enriching experience, particularly because it was so inspiring to be around other young people who have the same interests that I do. It was also humbling in a way. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Very
Great.
good. We're very
Good
proud
job.
of you. Thank you. Very good. Okay, we're going to move on in the agenda to questions from the floor. At this time, any person wishing to speak on any question previously discussed through administrative channels and not on the agenda will be granted 5 minutes to make a presentation to the board. Please state your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations on agenda items. Any person wishing to speak on any items on the agenda will be granted 5 minutes to make a presentation. Please state your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. A consent agenda is utilized by the Raleigh Board of Education as a means of dealing with routine matters which must be considered by the Board of Education but require a minimum of discussion. All Board of Education members receive and review written information supporting the items listed on the consent agenda well in advance of the meeting. While any Board of Education members welcome to remove any item from the consent agenda for separate consideration or discussion for any reason, normally all items on the consent agenda are approved in one motion with a minimum of discussion. I'm looking for a motion to approve items A through L.
I'll make the motion to approve A through L.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're going to move into new business. What?
Good.
Oh, wait, there was one other thing we were going to
Yeah,
Right.
thank
from
you.
the consent agenda.
Sorry,
about that.
yes, included in the consent agenda was the retirement notification from Debbie Grossenbacher. Debbie is our administrative secretary at RTI and served the district for 23 years. So she'll be finishing the school year for us, but we're certainly grateful for her service and wish her the very best.
Be sad to see
Great.
her go. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move into new business.
Well, before we do that, do we have microphone issues? Okay, because Lauren will be speaking next. I was going to say otherwise she could stay where she is, but
Because she's mic'd
'Cause
there,
we're
would that
mic'd
be
there.
better? But she's not on, she could come sit here.
she could sit here.
You know,
You sit
Jade
here.
could sit here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good.
Miss Lauren Ulrich,
Are you sure?
come on down. Our student advisor to the Board of Education will share what she's gained from her experience serving on the board this year. Hello again. Yes.
Okay, let's see. Is the mic working?
Yep.
Yes, it is working. Awesome. Okay. So, first of all, I just want to extend my sincerest thank you to each and every one of you for being a part of this experience and supporting me along the way. I really have learned so much, and I couldn't have done it without such caring school board members and administrators. So, thank you all so much. So whenever I was thinking of what I wanted to share with you all today, I thought I might share a little story about myself. And I think it's very reflective of how we all can learn not only how to better ourselves, but the world around us. So the story starts about a year ago today, and I was standing before this very podium preparing to be sworn in as the next student representative to the Raleigh Board of Education. And I was absolutely terrified. I should have been so excited to begin this amazing opportunity, but all I could think of was, what if I forget what to say? Am I supposed to raise my hand when I get sworn in? Do I look okay on TV? But of course, looking back now, I can see how trivial those concerns were. More important than my hair or my shoes, I still care about my hair, but more important than my hair or my shoes or the perfection of my speech was that I had the courage to go out of my comfort zone to learn more about myself and how I could better myself and my school. And so that first meeting, I'm sure I stumbled over my words. Hopefully you heard what I was saying, but I remember I told you all that serving in this position was not something I typically do, but that I hoped that I could make a positive impact on my school and community. You see, before I joined the board, I never could have imagined being in such a prominent leadership position. But over the past year, I've had to push myself out of my comfort zone, and in the process, I discovered so many new interests, passions, and capabilities I didn't know I had a year ago. And because of the experiences that this position has given me the courage to seek out, I've learned that I am a leader. And by learning to appreciate my own voice, I've been able to share the voices of others. Through my work with the school newspaper, on the school board, and within my day-to-day life as a student, I've sought to represent my peers who don't have the same outlets or opportunities as I do. And while my voice may still be soft, now I can share my voice, and perhaps more importantly, the voices of others, clearly and confidently. And this personal transformation that I've had this past year has given me so many new insights into my school, the school board, the position of student advisor, and within my community. And so with my newfound voice, I'd like to share a few of these things that I've learned. First, I learned how to truly and authentically love my school and all of its students. I've never been the loudest one cheering at pep assemblies or football games, but I've learned that this is not what defines school spirit. School spirit is the spirit of love, of compassion, of service. School spirit is not defined by your peppiness or your bulldog apparel. School spirit is the fundamental love and care that I hold for the well-being of my peers, and it's what allows me to fulfill my duties as student representative. And I've also learned how truly special all of our students are. My peers are not just my classmates, but they're my friends, my role models, my inspiration. They inspire me every single day with their kindness, their compassion, their curiosity, and their passion to make their school, community, and world a better place. But despite the hope that I see reflected amongst my peers, I've also learned that no young person is without their challenges. I've seen so many students struggle with mental health, family life, and an array of other circumstances impeding their personal and academic success that we can only begin to understand. But in many cases, their school district can be the difference in these students leading a happy and healthy life. And this is the purpose of the school board. It's not about items on the agenda, it's about lives of students. Beyond our seemingly endless pages of agendas and our occasionally tedious committee meetings, we are the entity responsible for the well-being and success of Rolla students. We exist for the band kids and the star athletes. We exist for the 4.0 students and those just trying their best to graduate. We exist for the kids in Star Wars Club and Anime Club. We exist for students who love coming to school every day and for those who may struggle just getting out of bed in the morning. In its simplest form, in the words of Dr. Zales, we exist for students. And with this in mind, we now must consider not only who we are as a district, but who we will be. We have an amazing school system here in Rolla, and I've been lucky to be a part of it. However, what makes a good school great is that it never stops working to be better. We have the capacity to define our role as a catalyst for positive change in students' lives. The only question is, will we? I believe we already have. However, we must continue to redefine our role We must continue to redefine our role as the needs of our students are sure to continue evolving. We must adopt a mission that is never complacent, one that holds students and all of their unique perspectives, challenges, and voices at its center. One that holds school spirit, compassion, and love at its core. A mission in which each individual every parent, school board member, administrator, secretary, reporter, community member, no matter their perceived limitations or weaknesses, realizes the potential they have to make a positive impact on the district we all love. And with this in mind, Pearl, I encourage you to first and foremost know the value of your voice. Speaking out for students is not an inconvenience, but a duty that you now hold. I have the utmost confidence in you, and it is my absolute privilege and honor to yield my position of student representative to such a competent and compassionate young woman. And now to all of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for providing this experience for me, and thank you for the tireless care and dedication you exhibit each day while serving our students. Thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you for listening to me today.
We have some gifts for you. Get another picture, please.
Yep.
Good job.
Charlotte, do we get to comment? Lauren, I just want to say that I've been impressed, really impressed, in how well you can express your thoughts. I would not have been able to do that when I was your age.
I couldn't do it now.
I still struggle now.
Give yourself some credit, Jane. You can't.
Would you write my retirement speech coming up in April?
Yeah. Lauren, best of luck. You've got
Yeah.
bright things ahead, I'm sure.
Yes, and thank you so much for your time that you've served on it. You've done a fantastic job.
Yes, you have.
Awesome.
It's been a joy to get to know you. Yeah, we've enjoyed it.
I totally have enjoyed sitting next to you. You will go far.
And you survived that, so you will go far.
Survived was the fast one. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay. I feel like we need some music for her.
Yeah, we
Yep.
do.
There you go, some graduation music.
Not yet.
Not just.
It's getting cold. Hey, let us know about where you.
Well, and next in our agenda is to install our 2020 student advisor. In accordance with policy BCEA, the student advisor to the Board of Education, the new student advisor, Pearl Dugard, will be sworn in and provide introductory comments. So come on down, Pearl. Miss Reagan will be able to get you sworn in, and then we'll get you started.
I, Pearl Dugard, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the school director and for District Number 31, County of Phelps, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability. So help me God.
welcome. That's your spot.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you. Could you maybe just introduce yourself to us? Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe what you're involved in at school, and we can start to get to know you.
Hi, my name is Pearl Dugard, and I'm the new student representative to the Board of Education. I'm a sophomore at Rolla High School, and I participate in a lot of activities. I'm in the PEP, Marching and Symphonic Band, Speech and Debate, Student Council, Science Olympiad, Art Club, FBLA, and probably a few more that I'm forgetting. And I hold positions in a few of these as the FBLA District Parliamentarian and Chapter Officer. I'm also the baritone section leader for band, and I am the current sophomore class president. I think I just want to say that I'm super excited for this opportunity to grow as a person and serve my district. When I came here in the summer of 2017, right before my 8th grade year, I was really antisocial and nervous and not doing so great, which arguably hasn't changed that much. But over the last 3 years, I've really gotten the opportunity to see how much effort and school spirit and dedication that this district, from its students to its staff to its board members, put into everything they do. And all I want to say is that over the next year, serving as your student representative, I will do my best to convey the ideas and experiences of the student body.
Very good.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah.
It's nice
Glad
to
to
meet you all.
And Pearl, we'll come back to you here towards the end to hear some updates of things
No.
that are going. We're not doing
We're
school?
not putting her on the spot.
We're not?
I told
Yeah, I
her.
was gonna put you on the
She's
spot.
like,
No.
We took that off the agenda, so
We'll
she
give
wouldn't
her
have to do
we'll
double
give her a
duty.
break this time,
Yes,
right?
that's-
Okay. Well, we'll do that next time. Welcome, Pearl.
Next time.
I'm sorry, I was being hard on her.
You weren't
Okay.
listening the other day.
I know, it happens sometimes. Thankfully, I have an agenda in front of me. We're gonna move on to item C, FY '21 preliminary supply and textbook budget. Kendra, you've got some details for us and numbers and
I do.
good stuff.
Okay, well, if you recall, each January I come to you and ask you to approve budget amounts for the following fiscal year in order for building administrators to begin their budget process. That also allows them to plan in the spring, to place some orders for items that they're going to need to be delivered and paid for after July 1st. So moving right along, going over the estimated enrollment for kindergarten through high school. Those enrollment figures are based on either the either of the average of the September 2019 and January 2020 student enrollments, or the projected enrollment calculation that is based on birth rates and current enrollment data. That figure is then multiplied by $184 per student. The figures for RTI and RTC are based on an FTE enrollment of 300, and then the early childhood PUPS programming is based on FTE of 72 students. Both of those then are multiplied by $134 per student. The early childhood program is offset considerably by state and federal funding. Same thing with RTI and RTC with their tuition and federal funding. In addition to those figures this evening, I would ask for you to approve other items such as the high school band instrument rotation for next year, $75,000 for the RTI building trades project. That would be for the next house over on, again, Britt Lane, I believe it is, for next year that they would start. And then also the RTI and RTC district match for the enhancement funds. As a reminder, enhancement funds it's a federal source of revenue for technology and equipment for the adult and secondary programming at RTI and RTC. We also want to go over custodial supplies and have those amounts approved for budgeting purposes for the spring, so $132,700 preliminary for those supplies. Those dollar amounts are based on the last 3 year just of trend data. And finally, adding that all together, I am asking you to please approve this evening $1,059,100. As comparison to last year, that's about $10,000 more. Any questions? I went over that pretty quickly.
We need a motion? I'd like to make
Any
a
other
motion to.
questions for Kendra? Sorry, you're good. I'm behind. Any other question for Kendra? Okay, Brian, go
I
ahead.
would like to make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2021 supplies and textbook budget.
Great.
And I'll second.
Thanks, Carla. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to additional support staff position. Dr. Dare, you talk to us about a need at the junior high.
Rolla Junior High has had a little shift in student needs this year. So additional students that have moved in, as well as some changing needs for some of the existing students in the special needs department. Dr. Fulton and Dr. Reed tried very hard to shift staff for this first part of the year. It managed okay, but we're simply just not meeting the needs of all the students at this point. So we're requesting an additional aide for the special ed department at the junior high at this time.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Dare? I need a motion to approve that additional position.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Tony. Second?
I'll second.
Shannon's a
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Just a note of our Board of Education future meeting dates, the 23rd of this month, and then the 6th and the 20th of February. Move into old business, the 2021 school calendar. Dr. Dallas, you want to talk us through that?
You bet. We started meeting in November. I think everyone's aware probably by now that the statute change that occurred and impacts next year's start date, which is August 24th. We have spent a lot of time with the draft out on the website. The committee was comprised of parents, students. Lauren was on it, for example, and the other two student body presidents from junior high school. Teachers, administrators, tried to preserve the things that in the calendar that we're accustomed to, which is first and foremost preserving the semester finals to happen before Christmas break and not after we return. We've shared information with you all what the other conference schools are doing, and I was watching with great interest this morning and the State Board of Education meeting too today that 70 schools now are going to a 4-day school week, which means the state minimum hours of 1,044 are being adhered to, and in some cases they're lengthening the school day to get to that with 4 days. We've elected to maintain the integrity of our calendar and far exceed the state minimums. We historically have done that, as have the other schools in our conference. Not that the conference schools dictate what we do, but I think it's a good metric to look at. I think it's important that we have as many student days and contact time as we can with our kids. So our proposed calendar is 95 hours above the state minimum. It does preserve spring break. It does preserve Martin Luther King holiday and President's Day as scheduled holidays for students. It pushes the snow day, makeup days to the end of the calendar, which in this case there's only 4 instead of 6, since now it's an hours-based statute calendar, not a days-based. Since we're well above even the maximum calendar with this year being 1,104 hours if you built in 10 snow days with the statute we're living under now, we're still well above the 1,104. So we've used 3 days in the last 10 years as an average. We've already used 2 this year, so we'll only use 1 more the rest of the year. So the calendar, all the school districts around us that are part of our consortium for career tech are interested in what we're doing, so they can plan their calendars too. So I would recommend to you strongly that this calendar be the calendar you adopt for 2021 school year, and that's based upon the feedback from all that are involved, and and adheres to the new state statute.
All right. Any further discussion or questions for Dr. Salas? We've been looking at this for a couple of months, so it's
yeah.
definitely not new. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2021 school calendar as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Carla. And a second?
That motion.
Thanks, Jane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Long-range facility plan.
We've got a big decision ahead of us tonight, so I thought I'd come out here and talk to you instead of around everyone. The process that's before you tonight will end in an action item, hopefully, or at least a consideration of such for a voter-approved issue for April of 2020. The long-range facility plan that guides this is driven by our strategic plan, our CSIP. I thought RD did a really good job of spelling out. In the last couple of months, you've heard about the school improvement plans, what each building is doing based on data from student performance to input from parents and patrons regarding the direction for the school. And it feeds the CSIP. The CSIP's kind of the foundation and that we support, used to support everything that goes on in the district. So the presentation tonight and the long-range facility plan is embedded in these two goals. Goal 3, which has to do with instructional resources, facilities, and support services, and I'm not going to read the sub goal. You can see that there. That's specifically what we're talking about tonight. It's the charge that came from the long-range facility plan committee that you approved that 10-year plan in 2018. And the other is something I think we always strive to do, but it is directly related to this, because all along this journey from the time the CSIP was created with 100 people from our community that helped guide the direction for this district, all the way to the facility plan, to even the calendar that you just passed, has all been based on trying to provide avenues of information and access from our public to help guide the decisions that we make. So this is no different than that, but this is just something that I thought we always need to remind ourselves of. Everything we do in this district comes from a plan, and that plan is generated not from one person, but from a group. Moving forward, as I talked about, the long-range facility plan is a 10-year plan. Mr. Henshaw, when he left, chaired the committee and shared with you each month during the 17-18 school year, and then you approved that plan in June of 2018 before his retirement. Had a number of people that served on that committee, including our district architect, Mark Ruther from Honer, and many other people from the community and members of the staff as well. And from that, we generated a parent community survey that was available for everyone to weigh in on for several months. And then from that, you see the 7 items that were part of that discussion from one of our first board retreats. We continued to dive into that facility plan, generated the 7 priority issues, at least to get started on the facility plan. And then we had Rick Nobles from Excellence K-12, formerly Patron Insight, do a follow-up survey with registered voters in the community. And from that data, then we've taken the 7 concepts and moved them to 5. So before you tonight are just a snapshot of the 5 concepts. What I'd like to share with you tonight is leading up to the decision as to whether we go on the ballot in April for pursuit of accomplishing the first steps in this 10-year facility plan. The first one the question was on safety and security. So by the way, when you look at this, the ones that are embolded in bigger font are the 5 of the 7. So safety and security being the first one. The larger areas dealing with district entries, replacement of doors, electronic access, visitor management, entry configurations. I think it's important to note too that everything that we do relative to construction and facility upgrades has student safety as its cornerstone. Simply from the standpoint of storm mitigation or storm shelters to access to the building just on a daily basis. So it's much more comprehensive than the more acute issues that we deal with in our society now. It's something on our mind all the time. Dr. Dare put together this matrix that was actually on our first survey, that when the people, 1,585 people encountered the survey and interacted with it, they could see how these areas, security and safety, are broken down. Now, these are things that are outside the realm of what our maintenance department and our technology folks can accomplish in a short period of time. They require additional resources and additional personnel to make those things happen. And I would tell you also, we are working on those as we speak. In this building particularly, the Alertus communication system is being piloted for push out into the rest of the district, and that runs parallel to anything that we would consider doing as part of a bond issue. But again, safety and security as a standalone is one thing, but safety and security permeates everything else I'm going to talk about from this point forward. At the high school, the original plan here was, we had 2 questions on the survey, narrowed to 1 now, and that is the construction of a new field house. This is in orange, and then the conversion of Rolla High School's current gymnasium to an 800-seat auditorium. And you can see how that works there. The lower left corner is the property at the corner of 10th and Bulldog Run. So this next slide is much more appropriate. And to illustrate to you that these are fluid designs, I think it's much more effective to see it in its drawn concept. We just did acquire the property there at the corner of 10th and Bulldog Run, affectionately known as where the Blossom Basket is. The school district has been in negotiations for quite some time. Part of our long-range strategic plan is to always acquire property for future expansion when it makes sense. And in the case of this school district, we've been fortunate to get the property next to the junior high school and the property in front of Mark Twain Elementary with no intended use, but for future growth. This property, where the arrow in the yellow now completely changes the capacity for this project with the conversion of the auditorium and the gymnasium, because we can now build in additional band choir classrooms, a commons area, and there will be safety and security embedded in this project. As part of it will be required to be a safe room. So back in the, it's been several years, 2007, when I served on the city's long-range facility, or Comp 2020 plan, we were encouraged to enter into some kind of a project where we could provide a safe room for even the people that live in this area. There isn't any storm shelter accessibility for the residents that live around Rolla High School, but that's down the road. Right now, that will be done for the students that inhabit that building. So it does change that. We closed on the property at the Blossom Basket yesterday, and that's a strategic move that needs to occur. Is this the project? Obviously, it's drawn like this, and I think it's powerful on purpose that this isn't the final plan. This is the concept. None of these are final until we really get additional input from our community. Moving to the junior high school, the expansion of the music and vocal music and instrumental music wing, as you see here in orange. We knew that when we moved the 7th graders to the junior high school that we were stressing that facility because the programs that were there, the students coming over, we knew that was going to occur, and this isn't a surprise to us, but again, we're in perpetual planning. So what's in blue there is the existing choir band room, and the alternate for this project, either done by us or done by a contractor, depending upon bids, would be to convert that to a multi-purpose PE weight room type space, because we've got 7th grade activities, and right now we're busing some of our 7th grade kids to Rolla High School for weight training before school, and those kind of things make sense to explore as we work through this project here. At Truman Elementary School, again, safety I would mention first. This building, I know I've said it, and I know when you get inside that building, if you've not interacted, the best thing you could do with a pod is probably tear it down. But we're not going to do that. It's a building concept that had its time, and then we've built walls, and then we've torn them down, and we put them back up around the library. Now the library's in light blue. It's not a very good library. It's the only library in this district, as elementaries go, that we have not refurbished. We've done those at Mark Twain and Wyman. They got new libraries, and so we were looking for a way to work through that. So the area in orange would be a new office, new entry with a library there, conversion of the existing offices into more royal blue to a classroom space, again, improving security accessibility and significantly improving our library media resource room at that elementary school. But again, safety is in mind here. At RTI, restroom renovations, flexible lab spaces, modernization, enhancements to their existing labs. You know that RTI is a nice building. When that building was constructed in the early 70s, there weren't a lot of girls taking career tech classes. As a matter of fact, it was called vocational school. And it had a different connotation if you were involved with career tech education as we know it today is much different than that. Our robotics program is now moved into RTI, for example, out of Kaleidoscope. And with that, we see the need to enhance and modernize some of our shop spaces, which are all in orange. And that goes from ag shop to auto mechanics to, and the areas in blue are the restrooms. Someone asked me today, well, restrooms really aren't important. They're important, especially if you go in there and if you're a girl and you see that they're not very nice. And even if you're a guy, they're not very nice. But we've done everything we can to rehab those. They're not deplorable by any stretch, but we can do better. And that means a complete removal of what's there and modernizing all those facilities there with an amount not to exceed a budgetary amount. So that building hasn't been touched for some time to that extent. The bond issue to accomplish those 5 projects based upon the data information that we have received from both Excellence K-12 and our financial advisors from Stiefel, we landed at $25 million, and that impact to the debt service levy is 578, 28.5 cents. It impacts, moves our debt service levy to 57.8. You see the other increments that we looked at and what the impact is. It's not significant. What does that mean to a homeowner? We started at 125 home value. Obviously, there are homes that are worth less than that in the community, and some that are worth more than 200,000. But on an annual basis, you see the breakdown on a yearly basis and then on a monthly basis. Certainly, when you look at it on a monthly basis, it does soften the impact. But I'm not here sugarcoating anything. It is a tax increase that we're asking from our community, if you approve this tonight, to help move this district forward in some very significant ways. So if you're willing to give up Starbucks or something a month, I would be to make this happen. What does it do in the comparison? You know, we use the Camdenton salary data set group for a number of things, from analysis of teacher pay. So if I were to put up this same slide, do our teachers rank in the schools that are here? We're at number 1 and 2 in all categories for the tax levy that you see that's near the bottom currently. And I think that's a very powerful statement to make, that we prioritize the teachers in the classrooms. We know that to attract and retain quality staff, that's what we have to do. And here, if this issue is approved, it moves us not to number 1, but puts us in the middle of the pack. And not to justify it, but just to let you know that what it does to that comparison group. I found it interesting too, as I was listening to what the things that are happening in Jefferson City, the effort to bolster teacher pay and the analysis of where Missouri ranks in the nation regarding teacher salaries. I said something to the commissioner, and a few of us did, and I got myself put on now a task force. But I think it's
You'll have
powerful
plenty of free time to do
as they're talking about Missouri School MSIP 6, that if you took Rolla and compared, in any schools in our conference, but Rolla, and compared us to the nation, we're not 47th. And so if a district like ours is willing to pay teachers more and be above the national average and push us to an area that would make us 30th in the nation instead of 47th, then we should be rewarded on our accreditation grade for a community that's willing to invest in their staff. So it's wrong to paint the brush across the state of Missouri, because if you look at Missouri, we have more teachers per pupil than any of the other. We're number 10 in the nation for number of teachers we have. So obviously, the more teachers you have, the more, and you see the diversity in district there. There are some very small districts that will levy a lot of money because they're for their community, because they're really wanting to support their schools. So why I deviated from this to tell you that is I think the taxpayers in our community do get a good deal for the money that they spend, and we certainly don't take that lightly. We would deliver on the promises that we would make here. And so with that, you can't read that. I can't read that. And I hate putting up slides where people can't read, but I wanted to show you that we have the ballot language, and RD, you have it. It spells out exactly those 5 projects, what it does to the debt service levy, and what the amount is that we would levy in order to make those things happen. So with that, if we move forward, this is the timeline I've shared with you in the past. We are at the spot where the yellow arrow is, an important night to make a decision, moving us forward. And so what I would recommend to you is that we make a decision tonight whether we're going to move forward with the projects that are presented as a result of our CSIP, our long-range facility plan, our many hours spent together in retreats, and now the deadline before us. We have 10 weeks back from the actual election of April 7th to make a decision, which is actually January 28th, but it makes more sense for us to do it tonight, so it gives us time to have Myra go to the county clerk and file this should you approve tonight. So Mrs. Jameson has the actual resolution. If you choose to nod your head and say, let's proceed with the recommendation, we would be happy to read that and then entertain a motion
Yeah.
to approve.
Does anyone have any other questions or items for discussion before moving forward? Anything else for Dr. Zales?
I just would say that it's nothing that we've taken lightly. We've worked along many, many hours on this, all of us, and with our financial advisors, many discussions with architects, and I just think that it's not an easy decision to come to, but all of us are on board with it, and it's just the betterment for our district in the long run, and we do it very cautiously, but I think that we've all put a lot of effort into making this decision. It hasn't come lightly for us. A lot of hours.
I'd like to mention that, and Dr. Zales did comment on it, that the committees that came together to come up with the plans of what needed to be done or what they wanted to be done for the future involved over 100 people from the community giving input. And that's where it starts. I mean, that's the root of it, is what does the Rolla community expect of the Rolla district to do? There's been countless hours and thought put into making sure we understood it, making sure that the budget made sense, making sure that the whole program worked, and quite honestly, I'm excited to see it coming and looking forward to promoting it and hoping for it to win and win big.
And I think, you look back like a project like at the high school, and it's hard to believe it's been over 2 years ago that we talked about that in our facilities committee working on that master plan.
Right.
The concept of being able to do both of those projects for just a percentage of trying to do each separately over the next 10 years. So it provides some efficiencies, and the time that we've dealt with it in our sessions, we've made a better project, I think. It's not a final project, but it has answered, can we convert a gym and make it into a good facility? And I think we've done a lot
I agree.
in our time since last fall.
Well, it's been a path for quite a while. The first 10-year plan, we're in the second 10-year plan, a whole school year just to develop that plan. and then to choose from the plan what has risen from the surveys and from our, the input that we've had. I mean, it's been, like you said, Jane, a very cautious, very intentional. We take very seriously what we're responsible for in terms of our tax rates. And so I think we're ready for the next step.
I think so too. We also even did a site visit to see what a converted gymnasium to an auditorium would look like. So we really, I feel like, did our due diligence to look through this. Yeah.
And with Dr. Dare and Mr. Houseman, I learned at the end of one of our recent superintendent's meetings that there was a conversion going on just here to our east in St. James, where the scope of their project is now they're converting one of their old gym to an auditorium. And we didn't know that. We didn't know that till we were at the meeting talking to the superintendent, so we went with him on a field trip to see what they were doing there. So now it looks like we're copying them as opposed to them copying us. With the competitive side, we made it abundantly clear that we didn't know you were doing this, so we're friends in Phelps County, but we're going to go our own way.
That's right. Okay.
So,
Any further discussion, questions, comments? Okay, well, I'm going to read the resolution that is with the ballot language, and at the end, then we'll entertain a motion. So this is a resolution calling for a special election on general obligation bond proposition in Rolla, School District Number 31 of Phelps County, Missouri. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Rolla School District Number 31 of Phelps County, Missouri as follows. A special bond election is hereby ordered to be held in the district on Tuesday, April 7th, 2020, on the following proposition, called Proposition R31, 2020. Shall Rolla School District Number 31 of Phelps County, Missouri borrow money in the amount of $25 million for the purpose of constructing, renovating, furnishing, and equipping school sites, buildings, and facilities, including, number one, installation of safety and security upgrades throughout the district facilities. Number two, at Rolla High School, conversion of the existing gymnasium into a performing arts facility and construction of a gymnasium and music classrooms. Number three, at Rolla Junior High, construction and renovation of music classrooms. Number four, at Truman Elementary, construction of a library and reconfiguration of the front entrance. And number five, at Rolla Technical Institute, renovation of classrooms and restrooms, and issue general obligation bonds for the payment thereof. If this proposition is approved, the adjusted debt service levy of the district is estimated to increase 28.5 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of real and personal property, from 30 cents to 58.5 per $100 of assessed valuation of real and personal property. The Secretary of the Board of Education is hereby authorized and directed to notify the clerks of the county commissions of Phelps, Dent, and Marys Counties, Missouri, of the adoption of the resolution no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 28, 2020, and to include said notification of all the terms and provisions required by Chapter 115 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri as amended. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption. I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution Proposition R31, 2020.
Can I make one comment first on that? Maybe Dr. Salas pointed out and I missed it, but one thing I think is important to keep in mind is due to the discipline budget watching that our administrative team does here, there's an additional approximately $6 million coming out of our fund that we already have to add with that $25 million in order to complete it. So there's a sizable down payment and investment of monies that we already have moving towards that as well.
It's a good thing to note.
Should have mentioned that earlier, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jim.
We adopt that resolution.
Okay, and
I'll second.
thanks, Brian. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Or any abstentions? I think we have some more work to do.
Yes.
But it's very exciting.
Yep.
It's very exciting. That's the last thing. We could do anything else. Take a look at your written reports, the cafeteria reports, the transportation reports. I will point out in our dates to remember that we are still in the time frame where folks can file for school board candidacy. That closes on Tuesday, January 21st. Would just like to mention those who have filed so far: Carla Clayton and Tony Froelich and Sue Daly, who's here in the back. You can't quite see her. Yeah. Anyway, we will have 3 positions on the board open as Jane Haskell is retired.
We did, Mark Sells did file today.
Oh,
too.
so we have another one.
Early today.
Mark says.
Sorry about that.
All right, and our next board meeting is the 23rd. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Jane.
I'll second.
Thanks, Shannon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? I think we're adjourned. Kind of have to chill. Okay. Yeah, tell me.